Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Switch on your video here. Yes. Am I audible to you? Vaiga, am I audible to you? Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're joining from your phone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. All right. No problem. All right. So you have been promoted to class 9th, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is it possible for you to join through a system or a laptop?
I actually don't have the laptop. So once I buy it, of course I'll join from my laptop.
Okay, okay. Because you know this, like here in the class, you have to turn on your like video. Okay, you try to switch on your video. Let me see.
Okay.
Yeah, you can keep it in a landscape position. Turn on your video.
Ma'am, is it on? Ma'am, actually I'll try doing it in the settings. So is it okay?
Yes. What are you saying?
Ma'am, is it okay if I turn on my camera in the next video? Because I need to check it in the settings.
Yeah, you check. It's okay because you know, like it will be much better if you switch on your video. You know, for you, I don't have
Yeah,
any
ma'am.
benefit
Okay.
from. Yeah. So if you can just check the settings, it's okay. You
Okay,
can.
ma'am. 1 second. Ma'am, is it on now?
Yes. Yes. Now it's on.
Okay, ma'am.
All right. So you've been promoted to class 9th, isn't it?
Ma'am.
So how does it feel to become a ninether now?
It's good.
It's great.
But I'm kind of scared because, I mean, it's 9th, so
Yeah, you're one step closer to your boards, isn't it?
yeah. Yep.
Okay. So how was class 8?
It was good.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. And talking about your favorite subject, what is your favorite subject?
My favorite subject? I'll go with English.
English.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what do you plan to do after your 10th is done? Like for 11th, 12th, what do you plan to take? Which subject? Arts or
I'll
science?
take commerce.
Commerce. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. All right. So your classes have started?
No, tomorrow it
No,
will start.
tomorrow it will start. Okay. So see, in your class 9 portion, well, firstly, I am Mariam and I'll be teaching you biology. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So, from the science, the biology portion will be my responsibility
Okay.
for you. So out
Okay,
of
ma'am.
all of the portions that you see, in that bio has 3 chapters. The first
Mm.
chapter is fundamental unit of life. Then there is tissues and improvement in food resources. Now see, these 3
Okay.
chapters, they are actually quite lengthy, if I must say, but very interesting, very easy. And it's just they're lengthy, so you have more data to learn because, you know, obviously you have jumped a step higher. So the level is also going to be a little higher, right? So
Yes.
for today's class, I'll be beginning with the first chapter, that is fundamental unit of life. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, before I begin, there are a few things I would like to tell you that while I'm teaching, anything, if there's like even a tiniest thing that you did not understand, feel free to ask.
Mm. Okay.
Anything you feel free to ask. Don't be shy. Don't be hesitant. It's just you and me here. So whatever your doubts are, I am here to clear it for you.
Okay,
Apart
ma'am.
from that, even if your doubts are silly, this is my main thing. Even if your doubts, if you think like, oh, my doubt is so silly, what would ma'am think that I don't even know this? No, ma'am will not think anything. You have to, it's clear anything that comes to your mind, any help you need regarding the paper, regarding the way to write exams, anything I am here for you, so you can ask me anything, okay?
Okay.
And other than that, you don't have to take down, like, don't have to note down right now anything. I'll give you time.
Okay.
All right. So we'll be beginning with the first chapter, that is fundamental unit of life. Now see, the word fundamental means the most basic thing, the most important thing. Okay. So when we talk about the most basic and the important thing, as far as the life is concerned, so that is the cell. The cell is the basic, the most fundamental unit of life. Now, the reason why we call it as the basic or the fundamental unit, it's because it is what every single living organism is made up of. Whether it is a plant, whether it is an animal, or a microorganism. Every single living organism is made up of varieties of cells, but cell is the basic. Clear? So that is why we say that cell, it is the most basic, it is the most important, crucial, fundamental. That is why we have all of these adjectives for the cell. Now, obviously, there has been some people that might have discovered it or studied about it. That's why we are studying it today, right? So this is like, so the scientist, the first ever scientist that we will come across is Robert Hooke. Now, him in the year 1665, he discovered the cell for the first time ever. But the thing was that the cell that he discovered was a dead cell. It was not a living cell. Okay, it was a dead cell. And from where did he get that cell? So, do you know what the bark of a tree is?
Yes, ma'am. Like a cork something, right?
Yeah, exactly. The trunk portion and the cells from that is known as the cork cell. Okay, so he took out those cells and then he studied them. And then he said that, okay, these are the cells. But what was so special about them or not so special about them is that those cells that he discovered were dead cells. They were not living cells. Then came another scientist, and his name was Anton von Leeuwenhoek. So him in the year 1675, he discovered the first living cell. Okay, he discovered the first living cell. Now, many a times, like the question gets asked, like, do you agree that cell is the basic unit of life? If yes, explain. Right. So why is it the basic unit? Because first of all, every single living organism is made up of cell. Secondly, the cell is capable of surviving or thriving alone. It doesn't need the help of anything else. Okay. So now let us see further. So Robert Hooke discovered the cell, but this cell was indeed a dead cell. So a question can be formed like, what kind of cell did Robert Hooke discover? So a dead cell. Now, from where did he get the cell? So he got it from the bark of the tree, and the cells from the bark of the tree are known as cork cells. And lastly, the most important, the most famous question that you would get out of this is, why is the cell called as the structural or functional unit of life? So it's because all the living organisms, it doesn't matter whether it is a plant, animal, or microorganism. Every single living organism is made up of cell, first of all. Secondly, like I said, see, there are many organisms that are made up of just one cell. That's it. Like they have just one cell in their body. Okay. And that one cell is capable of performing multiple functions. It's capable of performing anything and everything for that organism. So the cell, we can say that it is capable of independently existing. So because of these two very important facts, the cell is said to be the structural or the functional unit of life. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay, very good. Now, moving forward, let us talk about the types of organisms. Now, see, I'd like to tell you that for grouping or for putting things into certain categories, you need a criteria, isn't it? For example, if I say that, okay, you have to make groups of, there are total 50 students, and you have to form them into certain groups. So obviously, you'll use some sort of criteria to divide them, isn't it? What all criteria you will use? Tell me.
I would divide the students.
Yeah. How would you divide it? Like on the basis of what all criteria that you might think?
I mean, like equal.
Like obviously equal only. Like for example, you divided 25 and 25, right? But there
Yeah.
has to be some criteria. For example, if boys and girls both are there, so you're going to divide it depending upon the gender. Boys at
Oh
one
yeah.
side, girls one side, right? Same way, if not dividing on that way, you can use also, the criteria like, okay, let's just say who is stronger in the studies, who is a little weaker, like that also you can divide, right? And then depending upon the interest, who likes to sing, who likes to dance, and all of that, right? So the point the reason why I'm saying this is that for any sort of division, you have to put a criteria, right, for that division. Same way, when we talk about the different types of organisms, we put certain criteria. So the first criteria on which we are going to divide the organism is the number of cells that they have. On the basis of the number of cells, the organisms, they are of two types, unicellular and multicellular. Now, uni means one, cellular means made up of cell. So those organisms that are made up of just one cell, and that's it, we call them as unicellular organism. You can also call them as single-celled organism. The best example for which is bacteria. The second situation is multicellular. The second kind of organism is multicellular, wherein the word multi means multiple, more than one, and cellular yet again means made up of cells. So those organisms that are made up of more than one cells, we call them as multicellular organisms. The examples for which would be man, it would be fungus, it would be all sorts of animals and all sorts of plants. Clear? Now, if we were to, some fun facts before we move on to the differences. The biggest cell in the world is the egg of an ostrich. Okay, the egg that ostrich has, it's the biggest cell, like there's no cell bigger than that. The longest cell in the world is the nerve cell that we have in our body. Our neurons, they are longest. They're not bigger in size, but they're very long. And the smallest cell in the world is that of a bacteria whose name is mycoplasma. Yeah. Now, hopping on to the differences between the unicellular and multicellular organisms. Now, when we talk about unicellular, since they just have one cell in their body, so they will be smaller. Whereas multicellular, they'll have like a lot of cells, so which makes them bigger in size. Unicellular, like we have discussed, they are made up of one cell, whereas multicellular, they are made up of multiple or more than one cell. Now, since the unicellular organisms, they just have one cell in their body, it makes their organization very simple. One cell, that's it. Anything that is present inside the cell, nothing outside the cell. So it's like their organization, the way they are arranged, it's very simple because it's just one cell. But when we talk about the multicellular organisms, so they'll have a complex organization. Maybe some cells will be responsible for performing a different sort of function. The other cells, some other function. So that way, the organization in the case of multicellular organism, it will be very complex. Simple in unicellular, complex in multicellular. Then coming on to lifespan. Mostly the unicellular organisms, they are very short lifespan organisms. They do not live for that long. But when you talk about multicellular, they live longer. Like for example, humans. Some humans live up to 100 years of age, some 70. So it varies. But again, lifelong, like the lifespan is long for the multicellular organisms. Now, in the unicellular organism, it mostly contains the prokaryotes and some eukaryotes. Now, what are prokaryotes and eukaryotes? We'll be dealing it later on. But for now, you just understand that in the case of unicellular organism, mostly they are prokaryotes and some are eukaryotes. You might have heard about yeast in class 8, right?
Yes.
So that yeast is actually a fungus, but it is a unicellular fungus. I told you that fungus are multicellular, but Yeast is one such exception. It is a unicellular fungi. And other than that, bacteria, paramecium, amoeba, all of these are the unicellular organisms. But when we talk about the multicellular ones, so they will not have any prokaryotes in them, no prokaryotes, only eukaryotic organisms. The examples are animal, plants, humans, fungus, all of the bigger sized organisms. Clear? Any doubts?
No, ma'am.
All right. Okay. Now you can note down till here. Now, while you're noting down, you can switch off your video, write down comfortably. Just during
Okay,
the
ma'am.
class, you can switch off.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Ma'am, I just have to write the key points, right?
No, everything.
Oh, okay, ma'am. Done, 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 ma'am.
All right. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
Oh, now I discussed about the prokaryotes and eukaryotes, right? Now tell me one thing. Do you know what a DNA is?
What, ma'am?
Do you know what a DNA is? DNA?
Yes, which carry genetics
Yes. Where is it present?
in the cell.
Hmm. Yeah, it is present inside the cell. So for example, if this is a cell, okay, inside the cell, there is this structure which is called as a nucleus.
Nucleus.
Inside the nucleus, the DNA is present like this.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there is a group of organisms that have membrane-bound nucleus. Okay, just 1 second here. Yes. So there are organisms that have a membrane-bound nucleus. Okay, membrane-bound means a nucleus that is surrounded by a membrane. So those organisms are what we call as eukaryotes. Now, if we remove this membrane, now the DNA will be present in the cell. It's not present in the nucleus. So this, wherein the nuclear membrane is not present, we call those organisms as prokaryotes. This is the major difference. So now what is the criteria? The criteria is the presence or the absence of the nuclear membrane. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the basis of the presence or absence of the nuclear membrane, the organisms, they are of two types, prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Now, prokaryotes are the ones that their DNA is naked, meaning it's not surrounded by any covering, any membrane. It's just lying there in the sun. Sun, I'm saying. Cell, not sun. So the DNA is naked in the case of prokaryotes, right? It's just lying there in the cell, not surrounded by any nuclear membrane. So nuclear membrane is absent in the case of prokaryotes. Now, when we talk about the eukaryotes, so in them, the DNA is not naked and it is not present just in the cell. Rather, it is present in the nucleus surrounded by a nuclear membrane. Clear? This is the major difference.
Yes.
Other than that, inside the cell, there are certain structures that are called as cell organelles. Okay, like inside the cell, there are tiny organ-like structures present. Each of them have their own particular function to perform. So those cell organelles that are membrane bound, meaning those cell organelles that have a membrane surrounding them, so they will be present in the eukaryotes, but they will be absent in the prokaryotes. Okay, no membrane bound structures will be present in the prokaryotes. Now, the prokaryotes will be smaller in size, the eukaryotes will be bigger in size. The example again, amoeba, bacteria, plants and animals for eukaryotes.
Okay.
Now, see this picture. This picture tells us the difference between the prokaryotic cell and the eukaryotic cell. Now, if you see in the first situation, the prokaryotic cell, you see that the DNA is just present as it is in the cell. Right? It's not surrounded by anything. So this DNA is called as a nucleoid and it's not membrane bound. So this is a prokaryotic cell and it has nothing else. But if you see here, this is a membrane bound nucleus inside of which the DNA will be present. Apart from that, do you see all of these structures? These
Yes.
structures are exclusively present in the eukaryotic cell and not in the prokaryotic cell at all. Do you see? Nothing is there. Now, the Golgi apparatus is a cell organelle. Endoplasmic reticulum, cell organelle. Mitochondria, cell organelle. Lysosome, cell. All of these are present in the eukaryotes and not in the prokaryote. But there are some structures that are common to both eukaryotes and prokaryotes. Like, first of all, the cytoplasm. Do you see dots all around in this picture? Do you see the dots, white dots?
Yes.
That is representing the cytoplasm. Imagine it like a fluid substance that is filling the space inside the cell. Same thing here also. So it is common to both of them. Then there is ribosome. Now ribosomes, they are small circular structures that synthesize proteins. So that is also common in both of them. And then the plasma membrane, meaning the outer membrane of the cell is called as the plasma membrane. So that is also present in both. So these three structures, they are common in the prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. Now this ribosome, it is a cell organelle. Like Golgi, like mitochondria, like ribosome is also a cell organ. Now I have a question. Tell me one thing, that if it is a cell organelle, how is it present in prokaryotes also? Normally we saw all the cell organelles being present in eukaryotes. So how is this ribosome present in prokaryotes also? The question is not tough. The answer to it is very easy. Just think.
Ribosomes contains protein,
It
which gives
makes proteins. It makes
yeah,
protein.
which gives out energy.
And it doesn't have to do with the function of the ribosome. Listen to
Mhm.
me carefully. I said that all the membrane-bound cell organelles are present in eukaryotes and absent in prokaryotes. Ribosome is the only cell organelle that is common to both. So, ribosome being a cell organelle, how is it present in prokaryote? That's the question. Think. The answer is so easy. When I tell you the answer, you'll be like, nah.
Nah, I can't get the answer, ma'am.
The reason why the ribosome is present in the prokaryote because it doesn't have a membrane. What did I say? Only the membrane-bound cell organelles are present in eukaryotes. Ribosome is the cell organelle that doesn't have a membrane. That's why it's present in prokaryote also. Clear?
Yeah.
All right. Okay, now you note it down.
Okay. Done, ma'am. Done, ma'am.
Okay. Now you can roughly draw the diagram also.
Okay,
You
ma'am.
don't have to color it or anything, just roughly draw it. Done, dear?
Ma'am, 1 minute.
Oh.
Done, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts up until now?
No, ma'am.
Oh. And there is one more thing that I'd like to discuss with you. Can you see the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is like sort of, for me to know how much your base is strong, or maybe you would need, a little bit of revision from the subject. So
Okay, ma'am.
these are certain questions that you just need to orally answer. Okay, you can switch on your video. You need to answer these questions one by one. However much you know about them, you can answer.
Okay,
Okay.
ma'am.
So the first question is, what is reproduction? You can switch on your video, dear.
Ma'am, should I write it down or like I
No,
should
no,
say?
just speak. Just speak.
Okay. So, what is reproduction? Reproduction is basically giving birth to the young ones, um, and to maintain the population on the earth.
What is the use of yeast?
Or, ma'am?
What is the use of yeast? The second question, what is the use of yeast? Dear, while you have your video switched on, can you see the screen that I'm sharing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeast is used in dough and
Hmm.
doughs to rise the
To rise the dough. Yeah.
rise the dough.
Other than that, is yeast used in any other thing?
Ferment. I mean, it's through fermentation.
Yes, fermentation. Very
Yeah.
good. What are the major groups of microorganisms?
Bacteria,
Hmm.
fungi,
Hmm.
algae,
Hmm.
virus,
Hmm. What else?
protozoa.
Protozoa. Very good. Is there
Yeah.
anything else?
Uh, I don't remember.
Okay. Define asexual reproduction.
Okay. Asexual reproduction contains only one parent.
Hmm.
Uh, for example, hydra or
Okay.
budding.